Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the opening of Fadi's show. I know many of you are friends and colleagues, so you know a little bit already.
Yeah.
But today it will be my great pleasure and delight to explore a little bit more about the foundation on the occasion of a new book being published with contributions by Rachana, who's with us in the audience. To begin with, we'll start at the beginning and we'll go through the life of Alfred, if we may, and then into the work of the foundation and, of course, the legacy of the sculpture park in Rachana.
Yeah.
Fadi, of course, you're the son of Alfred, but I think our story starts really with all three brothers, and it starts a little bit like a fable. There was a place, Rachana, today a major center of sculpture.
Yes.
Back then, city or town of 1,000 residents, one of whom was a cleric, a Christian cleric, your father, who also drew or sketched in his own time.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather, sorry, apologies. And perhaps, my first question to you, perhaps if it had been a different time, might himself have become an artist. Of course, he had a love for God, and that drew him to the church. But do you think he could himself have been an artist?
Well, everyone could be an artist. I didn't have the chance to meet my grandfather. He passed away too early. But he used to be a calligrapher. And the sound of writing a calligraphy on the khayzaran paper, it's like a kind of a bamboo or khayzaran, what you call it, to translate it in English? What's the terminology of? Okay. So he got inspired by the sound, and Michel as well, his older brother, and they tried to make molds from the candle in the church that used to melt. They take it back and used to mold it. And this is where the inspiration started as the kids, and they didn't leave this curiosity and this playful thing of doing the modelage, playing with the hands, trying things. Of course, Michel has a vision also to start. He started, they call at Alba in Beirut, and then Alfred used to help him, and then he got scholarship to Paris, Alfred, and he was a student of Colla Marini.
That's your father?
Yeah, that's my father.
But let's carry on a little bit more about your grandfather. So he was a cleric, a Christian cleric, and he liked to do calligraphy in his own time, and he was actually an artist. And I find that so interesting because he then had three sons who all became...
Five sons.
Five in total.
Five sons in total.
But
three of them became...
all became...
artists.
Artists.
Yes. I believe it's... the grandfather played not a major role in this. It's in my personal opinion. I didn't... meet him. I heard about him, but he passed away also when Michel and Alfred were still young. So the inspiration just started at the young age, but the vision that Michel and Alfred had for their future, this is where it started, with Michel and Alfred. It's not with the grandfather.
And do you think, I mean, of course, you know, Lebanon used to be a French mandate. It was controlled by the French at the time when they were growing up. And the legacy left behind by the French was the importation of sort of cultural ideas. I mean, in fact, it was a scholarship, I think, that your father
by the
took
French
to go to Paris through the French.
Exactly.
Do you think that they took on board some of that sort of French formal teaching and sort of transformed it, or do you think they rebelled against it and sort of went a different direction?
No, they didn't rebel. They had their own vision. What I admire in Alfred and Michel, they were so much accepting of what they see and develop their visual skills, their understanding for the art scene, how things develop culturally, the society. They love the people. They love to hear and listen. They have also, they are very good in dialogue. So they are not a rebellions, but people really have the vision and the energy to execute what they want. They knew exactly what they wanted. the Frenchman that helped the art scene in Beirut. Jacques Lang at the time had,
Yes.
ex-minister of culture in France, had a theater called Nancy, a group called Nancy, who played, he made the first theater in Beirut in 1961 in Rachana at that time.
Wow.
So the cultural scene, it was vibrant in Rachana back then. And the French mandate and the relation we have as French in Lebanon, they helped a lot.
Jacques Lang is, of course, a long-standing friend of the region,
Yes,
and now heads the Institut du Monde Arabe.
Exactly.
It's amazing to think in the 60s there was theatre in Rachana.
Exactly.
With
It
him,
was the first
with him
theatre.
involved.
Yes,
That's an amazing story.
Exactly. You still have the pictures in the foundation. Never someone popping in the foundation. You have all the history. It's on the wall. You can see the picture of Jacques Lang himself with his group, Nancy, the Basbous, participating in building the theater. It was really interesting back then, and to see and to read, to know about them. Since I was, when I was young, I couldn't understand what his art is and what's my father's doing. So whenever at school they asked me what's your father's doing, I said I'm not sure he's sculpting. And I didn't know what it really means until I grew up and started to work more on and study his work more. And I understand lately that it's about, once you know yourself, you can understand the art and the dialogue and this whole dimension.
Would I be right in saying he was a stonemason in the beginning?
He was a stonemason.
And then he became a sculptor.
Exactly. They were stone on the British railways. Exactly. This is why they have a very good skill.
So can you tell us more about, you mentioned a little bit not understanding what your father was doing when you were young. Can you tell us more about your memories of coming into his studio?
Well, coming to his studio, you need to, he was always trying to engage us in the creative scene. You need to come draw this painting. I didn't finish this one. Come help me with this one. So he always tried to engage us in his world. Plus, he always mentioned that you as a kid, you should always be playful and try to discover yourself, do your own thing. And at that time, I wanted to go play with the ball, and it was difficult, and it's too much things I couldn't understand in the studio. But when you understand yourself better, when I grew up, I understand what he was trying to do. That he was trying to keep this a curiosity of a child alive in us, and this is important for the artist to engage, to make his family as a whole engage, because he also engaged with tried to engage my mother. Was always trying to sculpt her face, different time, several approaches, if I may say.
So she was a muse for him.
Yeah, we have few of her portraits here also. This was the purpose of this catalog, to build a close look on his life, the family, the foundation. This is the portrait of my mom. So
wow.
He's always engaging the people he loved, the people they support him in life, friends, family. Maybe a beautiful woman with a nice anatomy of her, have a beautiful anatomy. He used to invite her and draw her.
Your mom didn't mind.
No, at all. You should.
Joke.
No, my mom was a big support for my dad, because artist needs his freedom, and of course, this is his studio in Paris. When he used to study at under the Colla Marini, his teacher in Paris.
So tell us more about the Paris years.
Well, Alfred found himself free in Paris, free to express himself, free to look around, too much museums, too much vibrant scene, and he was obsessed about the art scene in Paris. And when he came back to Rachana, alongside with Michel, he wanted to build an open-air museum, and with this inspiration that he had got and the richness of the cultural scene in Paris, he wanted to do something innovation dans le village. Donc, in the village. So alongside his studio and Michel's studio, they created the international symposium that they invited artists from all over the world to create the artworks and keep it there. And it was like renowned by the UNESCO in 1997, a World Cultural Heritage. So alongside the Basbous studio, you can see the other artists' works abroad. So this is...
I think that is really so important to dive into a little bit more, what Rachana became because of his work. I mean, initially with a symposium, bringing together thinkers and artists, but then also as a space for the public, for the people living in Rachana.
Exactly. With no institutional or governmental support. It's something, Alfred was a Houdini artist, and he used to sell and live by his work, so he doesn't have capacity, but the energy they have and the will to build, they were able to achieve this by really keep on doing it, by their confidence and their energy. It's unimaginable. For 50 years they work in Rachana to transform this small village into and put it on the international map art platform. It was, I don't believe someone will sacrifice 50 years now to just put this village on the map.
In that way?
Yeah, in that way.
Can you tell those who have not traveled to Rachana more about what they would find if they were to go there?
Well, there's a work of Michel, the older brother of Alfred. There's the foundation, we turned it, the studio of Alfred Basbous, we turned it into foundation space. You have the permanent exhibition, the pieces exhibited there. You have the work of Youssef Basbous. You have now the son, Anashar, is working, the son of Michel. He has his own studio. And you have the international park scene in Rachana. So it's, this is a family business turned in the village into a small museum because they have the will and the vision to do it. And this is inspiring because this is representing Lebanon after all this, what we have seen, and the corruption and the confusion in Lebanon for the past years. And you can see just one family, what they can turn this village into an art hub, and with this cultural language and dialogue between people. And this is really a tremendous effort, and they need credibility and appreciations for that.
Especially because no one else was doing that.
Exactly.
It was a totally new idea.
They shaped the sculptural scene in the region. Before the Byzantine in 1600, we didn't witness any. So we have a gap of 400 years of no sculptures in Beirut, in Lebanon, since the Byzantine. So we have no history of sculptures. And then with the Basbous and of course Salwa Raudash-Air, and they shaped the scene. Sam Bardawil curated an exhibition, the Golden 60s he called it, and he exhibited in Lyon, Biennale Lyon, which we've been a part with the foundation. With him we donated 2 pieces for the exhibition, and we supported 2 of the Lebanese. As a foundation, we founded a fund for them to go and exhibit at the Lyon Biennale with Sam. So as well, we're doing someone was in Abu Dhabi art. We're supporting as a foundation. We have a booth. We're supporting also Shafa Ghaddar, also Lebanese prominent. So as a foundation, we're trying to give back to community, supporting Middle Eastern artists, and especially Lebanese, who's trying to establish themselves with our experience, our contact, and our business supporters like Tabari here. They are. So to bring those talents into the art scene and really support them and give back to community what the community gave to Basbous, because without the individual support, the Basbous wouldn't be here, because all the funds generated for the artists were the individual, the successful businessman or expats, Lebanese expats, who saw in Basbous a good identity for a cultural scene, a good language for Lebanon, to represent Lebanon. And they supported by acquiring themselves a work for themselves. And we try to pave the way for, if we can, as much as we can, for the new established artists as a foundation to support them.
I want to come back to the idea of legacy building shortly, but before we do, just to finish discussing the trajectory of your father's phenomenal career and life, after Paris, he then came to the UK, here where we are, and befriended Henry Moore,
Yes.
amongst other artists. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
When I was a kid, I had a lot of books of Henry Moore. My father had an obsession with Henry Moore. He had a great appreciation for his work, for his genius. And actually, they exchanged letters a lot. They met in Manshhadam, in Henry Moore's studio, several times. First time in 71 and second time in 74. We're going to mention all the details in the monograph later on. Yes.
Do you have copies of the letters? I mean, or do
yes,
we're
going to publish in the monograph.
Wow.
We're going to publish this in the monograph. And one of the letters, Alfred wrote that, I wish the government support me the way your government support you.
The British government.
Yeah, of course, because he always wanted to give me the budget, half the budget that Henry Moore has, and I can produce and deliver more work, challenging work. But nonetheless, he kept his will strong, my father. Regardless, 30 years of war we witness in Beirut, you never witness ugliness in his work. And this is generated from his teacher, Colla Marini, who used to be the student of Auguste Rodin. Colla Marini, he wanted to stand back and open his own studio from Auguste Rodin because he believed after the Second World War, Europe needs to be more positive in the artwork and away from depicting ugliness of the war. And he wanted to promote the idea of bringing the Greek mythology and the inspiration, the positive inspiration of the beauty of in the artwork. So Alfred adopted this idea. During the 50 years, you see none of the work depicting war, ugliness, because Alfred believes, like James Joyce say, the art should bring balance to the harmony, to the conscience of man. And in the work, you see the elegance is clear, the line where to start, how to end, even the subject and the material, they both approach with a profound feeling.
So I want to come back to this idea of legacy. And you've mentioned that you're working on, after this wonderful first publication, with contributions by Roxanne and others, you're working on a monograph that might include these letters with Henry Moore. Can you tell us more about why are you doing these books? What's the importance of them for you?
Exactly. We're trying to build a bibliography for Alfred Basbous, archiving his work, giving a clear picture about his life, his work, where the foundation is leading and structuring and doing the strategy. Roxanne she's been a tremendous help for us because, between all these elements to build a strategy and structure for a foundation to go forward, it's not easy. You need expertise, you need the right people, you need the right advice, and Roxanne has been helpful. We started with different curators at first. The book was delayed for 2 years, and then we've met with Roxanne. She's stepped in. We asked her to step in, and she helped us to, have a conclusion and decision and put the right structure and strategy for the book. We contacted Sam Bardawil, and it happens, and it comes alive. And we're happy here to publish. We published it in Abu Dhabi last year in November, and we're happy to sign it here with Roxanne in London. Hopefully, in the coming year, we'll do the monograph and the catalogue raisonné. The reason is to have a strong message for the international cultural institutions, museums, to hear and listen and to look to the work of Alfred Basbous. Without this, the legacy, the story should be told for the generations to come, for the students, for the architect, for everyone who want to do a research. The books are there. Archiving the pieces is important. The text, the essays on Alfred Basbous. Any student want to do any research, a study, it's available there. So this is the purpose of a bibliography.
And I think, just going back to the intentions of your father, of course, as an artist, he simply had to make, that was his life. But I think he also cared very much about making for the public and creating a place in Rachana as much as anything else. Can you tell us more about his commitment to the public?
Yes, Alfred as a person, if you have met him, he's a person who loves people. He loves to communicate. He loves to show him his work, his idea, to share his vision. Sometimes he used to work in his studio and people pops in and say, I invite you to come see my work. What do you think about this one? This is unfinished. Should I go this line? Or he liked dialogue. And he always say the more important than an oeuvre itself is the two people having a conversation and a dialogue about the oeuvre itself. So this was, and Rachana was a little bit isolated. So he wanted to create something to, he's always surrounded by people and art lover, people who can communicate. And this is, all my childhood was, my father surrounded about poets. I always remember Adonis was there, Giragosian, all the,
Amazing.
it was, El Khal was a very good friend. They exchanged letters, and one of the letter I used it in the publications. She was really fan of Alfred Basbous, and they worked the work of Ellen with the Basbous works. They go really together a lot. They were friends, and at the same time, they have the same approach of really clear idea, so neat, so pure.
And in terms of, you obviously want to keep that legacy going of supporting other artists, bringing them together, enabling them to, discover new things together. You mentioned you're supporting an artist at Abu Dhabi Art this year with a presentation. Yes. Can you tell us a bit more about your work also with other artists as a foundation? So how do you do that? What's in place for that? Yeah,
we're trying as an entity, as a foundation, to have a different dimension. Sometimes we support philanthropic, sometimes, but because we are a cultural and a sculptural foundation, we like to invest our time and effort in supporting other people's career, to try to build their career. We've been supporting the Lebanese who participated in Biennale Lyon. We didn't participate directly, but we sent the fund to the Biennale, and the Biennale with Sam Bardawil was, because we have trust in his work and everything. So he was selecting a group of Lebanese who've been unable to pay and move the pieces. So we've been part of that. Now we've been part directly in the first time in the booth, where we're going to exhibit very few pieces of Alfred Basbous alongside Shafa Ghaddar. So it's going to be a new experience for us, trying to go in this direction. I hope we'll succeed and be able to make a difference.
And are we allowed to talk a little bit about managing an estate, running an estate, just for those who might in the Middle East? Because it's quite a challenging area. There aren't that many family estates that have been working well, that have been set up. You're really one of the kind of, pioneers or Sherpas for others to think about how to do it. What are the challenges for you of being responsible for that estate? What advice might you have for others that have to do it?
Exactly. Honestly, it's a big burden to have a legacy and not to defend it. And also to take a decision to defend it, it's another burden. So you need the right team. I believe if you need the right team and you listen to the right people, and you follow the right strategy, of course difficulties is going to be there, but you have to have the will and the passion to do it. Since I was a young boy, I always wanted my dad to be on an international art scene. I used to see artists, prices in the West like going hilariously, and we suffered to sell one piece in Beirut. And then I grew up, I say, the West doesn't really look at us as really first row modernists or second row. So I'm trying to change this, and this is why we try and invest our time to tell the story, to tell the legacy. Happily, the last 2 years, I have the right team, right members, honorary members, and the right strategies. Roxanne, we have Sam Bardawil on the board, my sister, Salim Khouri is a good friend. So we have really a homogeneous team going smoothly into finding solution for each obstacle, whether financial or structural, or it's a lot of work, but it's joyful to have an achievement. It's joyful to have the book here. It's joyful to build another book. It's joyful to be here, talk to this beautiful crowd with you as well. It's becoming part of my life, and each time I go forward in this direction, I understand my father's more, because he loved people, he loved his work, and here we are. We have these beautiful pieces here with beautiful crowd talking about him. This is nothing else can be more prestigious for us and honorable as Middle Eastern to build a cultural identity with a dialogue, universal dialogue. Wow.
I'm going to pause and see if anyone in the audience has any questions that you'd like to ask, since we're all here. I mean, because we're, quite a small audience, you can wave, I can see questions.
Actually, I'd love Fadi to say a little bit more about the presence of Alfred in the Far East, because he showed his work in Japan.
In Tokyo, it sold out, didn't it?
Yeah, in Hakone Museum.
Exactly, so please talk about that, Fadi. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. The first time the Basbous brother exhibited in Hakone Museum, it was very, very strange for our part of the world and to go to Asia, but it was successful to have this. And actually, Hakone Museum was an open air museum that was really helped shape the idea of visualizing Rachana as open air museum. It's also supported the vision of the Alfred and Michel to build Rachana as international open air museum. Some of the works were acquired there, and then in 2017, Sotheby's Hong Kong made an exhibition. This is the two encounter with the Asian society there. I'm more familiar with the Sotheby's because it's been I was there, 2017.
To do a private selling exhibition in galleries
Yes.
in Hong Kong, and they paired Alfred Basbous with an Iranian artist called Rachana.
Yeah.
And they found parallels.
It was the first Middle Eastern at Sotheby's
It
Hong
was
Kong.
the first Middle Eastern show.
First Middle Eastern at Sotheby's Hong Kong.
Basbous chose red paintings by Rachana. As you know, the color red is very appreciated.
Yes.
And the works of Alfred did very well as well. So it's really because it gives the artist almost an ambassadorial role. It's a kind of soft power. It's a kind of, soft diplomacy. And it was really interesting to see that it had gone so well.
Yeah, so it was amazing. The exhibition at Sotheby's, the encounter with the Hong Kong society and the cultural scene there. It was not. I'm not familiar. I'm more familiar with the European and the GCC, but it was something an eye opening for the Asian market and the vibrant art scene over there. Yeah.
So it has a presence in Asia. It has his works have a presence, of course, in Europe, in the Middle East.
In Guggenheim, two years ago, last year, the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi acquired a few pieces, and we're very proud of this. This is a big achievement for us. It's a first acquisition of a museum while I work on the foundation, and for me, it's a very proud moment. And thanks for all being part of it. To Tabari family, Harriet is here representing the gallery. I wish Maliha was here. They played a very good role, being the business partner of the foundation since 2015. I couldn't neglect thanking and be grateful to Maliha, who's been always a good friend, a good support, a good advisor. And without all the people here, I couldn't be here without her, without all the team. So it's a teamwork. You need dialogue with everyone. You need persistence, and you need a lot of patience in the work of building and telling the story of an artist and defending the legacy of a family or a foundation.
And so, what next? What would your dream place be to go to as a foundation? I mean,
well, as a foundation, I'll try. I have few museums I'm trying to bring their attention for the work of Alfred Basbous. Hopefully, with time, with the monograph, will bring their attention. The same way we brought the attention for the Guggenheim, trying to do the same, and having a bibliography to tell a really clear and transparent story about this legacy for the generations to come. I might not be here 50 years ago, but the books will be here forever. So this is a good a good move going forward with the books. This is all my focus for the books and aiming for international institutions, cultural institutions and museums.
I think he would have been very proud of how you're safeguarding and protecting his legacy and taking it forwards.
Hopefully. It's a work for all the team we're doing, and each one played a part. Each one here played a part, bringing Alfred Basbous to this level. Some collectors who bought, I just met him now. He bought at Christie's piece in 2015. I always wonder who bought it.
And you found him here.
I went to Art Brussels in 2017, and I went to lunch. It was 1 o'clock. It was lunch, and the gallery said someone was here who bought the Acrobat in 2015. Said, I want to meet this guy. Why you didn't call me? So it just happened now. I've just met by coincidence and said, I have a poster. Which one? And you're the one. It's the second time. That's good. It's good to see you here. So everyone here, I believe, played a role in Alfred Basbous' legacy and story. And thank you for everyone, for all your small participation, small support, but continuous. It's more important than one big support at one time.
Fadi, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
It's been a
thank you for
pleasure.
the efforts.
And thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.